I'm Kaya. I have a channel on YouTube for book reviews. I base my script a lot on memes. I do that a lot. I will share my feelings about a book, but I will also make fun of it a lot. And it comes from a place of love, obviously. My goal is not to mock the book or the author. I'm just here to have fun, and I would describe my channel as very silly. And yeah, at the same time, I try my best to promote any authors that come to me and want me to read their book and share my opinion. So I try to help that way. And on the side, I do have a secondary channel, which is just video games, and that one's just an extra fun. I just, the fooling around, essentially. So yeah, that would be me.
And so today you're changing your roles from reader to writer to try out this little challenge with me and Christian.
Yes, and I'm super nervous because I used to write on the daily, and then since I started my YouTube channel, actually that took over, and now the only thing that I write is scripts for my channel, otherwise no stories at all. So I'm kind of rusty, but I guess this is a good exercise to go back to it.
So, what we have here, same as last time, is we have the two wheels. The left orange wheel depicts the genre that we're going to write about, and the one on the right, the blue and purple, depicts the subject. So the first thing I need to do actually is remove the girl's strange hair, because we've already done that one. Mm-hmm. And so we're left with these. Of course, as we go through them, I think Crystal and I want to eventually go through each one, don't we? So we're going to have to pick up some new topics in several videos' time. But for now, we've still got a good number to do. So what should I do here, do you think? Same as last time, one wheel at a time? Or both together? Kaya can choose this time.
Yeah, go for it.
Let's do genre first.
Genre first, okay.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I'm scared. Ooh, I was scared we would end up on like Western or something. I would not know what to do with that.
Me either.
No, me neither, but that's the idea, isn't it? Challenge ourselves. Okay, so we've got young adult, and again, that's something that I don't really write in terms of the kind of, because young adult is typically considered like romantic high school thing, isn't it?
Not necessarily. It could be any genre. I guess young adult, it might just, targets a certain age among the audience. So I would say maybe between 16 to 25, that would be the main audience. Otherwise, the genre, can be anything.
So I'm wondering then whether young adult is not something to put on that wheel then as a specific genre, if it covers multiple genres. What do you think?
Well, I think, I don't know, you can tell me if I'm right about this because you read more than I do, but the genre is probably relevant because there are certain things that people experience from like teenage years until their 20s that is like a very specific thing. Like I think navigating your 20s and like dating culture and all that is like a thing, but then when you kind of get into your 30s and 40s, like mid-adult, if there's certain elements in that category, it wouldn't be relatable to young adult. And I kind of think like mid-aged adults sort of grow out of, like I know I've kind of grown past like a lot of young adult things, like it kind of feels like cheesy to like think about them or read about them, so like I wouldn't be as interested probably in young adult stuff. So I do think young adult has a very specific genre because of like lots of things that young adults go through.
So perhaps we look at young adult then in terms of more the focus point of the story should be from a young adult's life.
That's how I would view
probably,
it.
Like you probably wouldn't want to like put too many things in there that people in their middle life would, be familiar with or experience, because it probably isn't really an experience for young adults so much.
By the way, can anyone else hear crackling, or is it just me?
Yes, I hear it too.
I can hear crackling. It's possible that's me though.
Okay,
yeah,
well let's go for the subject then and see. Sorry, Kay. Let's go for the subject then and see what comes out, and then we can decide what to do from there.
At 3 a.m.
Well, Darren's familiar with this. He's very familiar with 3 a.m.
I'm very familiar with it, yeah.
Oh my. It can be anything. It can be anything. But, yeah, I already get some vibes of what I'm going for, so that's good, I suppose.
I mean, yeah, with those pairs, there is literally pretty much anything you could do, because as I say, young adult isn't specifically tied to a specific genre of book. It's more a target audience, so it'll be interesting to see how similar or how different all of ours become, especially from Kai's point of view as the most seasoned reader here.
I'm not feeling ready, but we'll do our best.
Let's go.
Dropping into Misty Meadows. Dudes everywhere, bro. Jordan curled his toes instinctively as he scanned the landscape below him, floating down gently onto the rooftops. Where are you? Don't see you. Over his headset came Martin's voice, tinny and a little distorted. Weeping Woods, just touched down. On my way. It was times like this, as he sat there, his legs up on the desk, that he wished he had a proper gaming PC, rather than this old relic of a PS4. Martin, and everyone else on the damn game, seemed to be able to just get hit after hit, with their fast gaming mouse reflexes. And here he was, trying to work with a basic controller. He sat it down on his lap and stretched, yawning. He really should get to bed. It was already early hours of the morning, but the plan was in place, and he couldn't risk missing it, not when they'd spent so long working on it. I'm never going to lock down a win on this stupid game, he groaned, adjusting his headset, which had slid slightly down his face. That was another job he needed to do ASAP. Put a fresh strip of black tape round the crack to keep the strap in place.
You will, mate. Just gotta persist, you know. Took me like 3 whole weeks before I got a good lobby.
A gunshot rang through his ears, and he chucked the controller across the room onto his bed. Goddamn sweaty little...
Chill, pal, chill. Just restart the lobby. I'll back out.
So, despite feeling his anger getting more and more venomous with each passing failed round after failed round, he, again, exited the game and rejoined the room, shooting Martin the 16th invite of the night.
Suggest we head towards Coral this time. Quieter. More chance to find good stuff before being jumped.
He said, as Jordan looked over to check the time. It was 3:04 a.m. The battle bus revved up, and again they leapt, this time diving toward the top of the map. However, just as his feet touched the ground, Jordan froze, his hairs suddenly shooting up down his, admittedly hairier than average, arms.
The hell was that?
Martin asked.
Did you get whacked already?
Jordan slowly pulled his headset from his ears and turned around to face his bedroom door. That clunk hadn't come from the game. Hold on a sec, he said, his voice automatically coming out at a lower volume all of a sudden. He clutched one earphone to his head as he tilted the microphone near his mouth and cranked the speaker volume almost all the way down. He crept over to the door and pushed it open as slowly as he could.
What's going on? Everything okay?
The moment he did, it was clear that someone was in the house. He could hear the unmistakable whispering of hushed voices, and it didn't sound like his parents, who had left that evening for an overnight seminar on the techniques of franchising in Birmingham. That is, unless they had gotten all the way there and then decided to come back.
Oi, Jordan, you good?
But these were male voices. That was obvious. He took a deep breath and shuffled across the hall to the banister before peering over to look downstairs. Of course, it was pretty much all pitch black, and he couldn't make out much other than the base of the stairs and the door to the living room, which sat just in reach of the outdoor streetlight as it shone in through the front door window.
You still there, mate?
Jordan gulped and, quietly as he could, whispered into the microphone. There's people in the house. Martin stayed silent for a second.
Nah, there ain't. I've just gone in. It's clear. Nice gold SMG on the...
Not the damn game! In my house, man!
Oh. Oh.
Jordan could almost see Martin's eyes widening through his headset as his tone shifted to one of recognition on what he had just heard.
What? Like...
Yeah. Jordan kept his voice as low as possible. He continued gazing over the banister. I'm gonna try and see. He started to gradually creep along the hallway, his eyes never leaving the living room door, aiming for the top of the stairs, where he'd be able to get a wider field of view. And, just as he reached it, his gaze focused downstairs. He hadn't been looking where he was walking, and his little toe cracked hard against the corner of the bathroom door. He froze. The pain was flashing white-hot against his brain, but it was now being choked by the sight of 3 black shadows staring up at him from the foot of the stairs. Shit! One of the shadows cursed, loud enough to even make Martin jump. Go! Before Jordan could register the shout, or even his throbbing toe, all 3 of them began lunging up the stairs toward him. He couldn't yell. His throat had gone way too dry and tight for that. So instead, he gave a choked kind of gurgle and whisked around, diving back into his bedroom and slamming the door shut. Thank God he had insisted on having a bolt-style lock fitted for, well, privacy reasons. As an 18-year-old boy, that was a vitally important thing. He jammed it across, sunk back onto the floor, just as the thud of heavy shoes on floorboards reached him. The door handle was yanked and pulled, the door knocking loudly on his hinges, before the thunderous banging of furious fists on wood made his stomach lurch.
Open the goddamn door, bitch!
Jordan grabbed at the little microphone and clutched it to his now very dry lips. Martin! Despite the adrenaline now coursing through his body, or perhaps because of it, he found he couldn't speak in more than a squeak.
Just relax, bro. I'm sure they won't actually they're just there to rob you, right?
Jordan had assumed as much too. Pretty much the moment he had heard the whispered voices downstairs, 3 a.m, a bunch of men whispering to each other in your house, pretty much the default is to assume that you're being robbed. But he hadn't counted on this. And he certainly hadn't counted on the way the sound echoed into the room. The sound of wood being split apart told him very plainly that a very big blade had just collided with his bedroom door.
I swear to God, arsehole, you open this goddamn door right now or I'll cut your whole head off.
This wasn't supposed to happen. Jordan sat shivering a little on the floor, trying to think straight about what he was supposed to do in this situation. But blood was pounding in his ears and his head was feeling incredibly fuzzy. I don't know if I can.
You can, bro,
came Martin's equally shaky voice.
You're good, man. Just stay there and, wait it out.
Wait it out. That was the plan. Wait it out until they kick the door from its hinges and force their way in.
I'm not kidding, dickhead. Open the goddamn door or I'll kick it to shit. You hear this?
He struck the blade of his machete against the metal door handle, sending a sickening clang through the house.
Japanese steel, this is. Cuts through bone like it's jelly. Open the door!
Cameron bit his lip and gave him a shove. Yo, Noah, isn't this going a bit far, like? Noah scoffed and turned, his voice hushed. Hell no, the little bitch could use a good fright. Might make him less of a little bitch. Cameron turned to Drew, who now looked equally as uncomfortable. Yeah, Drew added, tentatively, but usually it's just like egging a house, or drawing decks on a dude's car or something. This doesn't seem very, April Foolsy. Well, too friggin' late now, ain't it? Should have thought about that, shouldn't you? I told you I was doing it proper this time. Noah turned back to the door. All right, prick, I warned you! With one swift kick, the small screws holding the bolt in place came flying out of the wall, and the door swung open, revealing 3 men, eerie Tengu masks covering their faces, the one in front carrying a huge machete. Sup, arsehole! Now get your ass... But there was no arsehole sat against the wall, shivering as he had expected to find. Instead, he found himself looking down at a limp, motionless body, face down on the floor. Noah felt his gut sink a little, but swallowed the feeling at once. Oi, you. He reached out a leg and gave Jordan a quick, firm kick to the back of his leg. He didn't move. Oi, Cavendish, get the hell up. He now couldn't hide the panic creeping into his voice, as he gave Jordan another swift kick to the backside. He still didn't move. He looked round at the others, his pupils a lot smaller behind the mask than they had been at the start of the night. But instead of looking down at Jordan in horror too, they were looking at the wall, on which hung an emergency defibrillator. Then their eyes met the desk, on which stood a packet of medication marked warfarin, a blood pressure monitor, and something that Drew, whose mother was a nurse, identified at once as a pulse oximeter. Drew gulped at once and began backing toward the door. Shit. Noah, this ain't good. Noah followed their gaze, and as soon as his eyes met the defibrillator, the blood drained from his face. He cautiously stepped toward Jordan and took off his mask. Yo, Cavendish. It's just a joke, bro. Cavendish, get the hell up. He shoved him hard on the shoulder, but Jordan's body just flopped like a rag doll. Oh shit. He took a few shaky steps back. I didn't. How the hell was I supposed to? Did you know about? But Cameron, looking white as a sheet behind his mask, slumped against the wall. Before... I'm getting the hell out of here. He turned and ran, followed closely by Drew, the sound of their shoes and whimpers carrying them down the stairs and out of the front door. Noah, now feeling sick to his stomach, couldn't seem to tear his eyes from the body. But as his eyes once again briefly darted to the defibrillator, the feeling seemed to flood back into his legs in a tsunami of panic. And he fled in sheer terror. Martin sat, his hand still resting over his gaming mouse, as he listened to everything that was happening in Jordan's bedroom. He heard the yells, heard the door slam open, heard the silence, the gasps, the whimpers, and finally the stomping of retreating feet and the slam of the front door. Then the sound of something shuffling came through the microphone into his ears, the crackling of a headset being picked up from the bedroom floor, and a very shaky sigh. They're gone. Martin let out the breath he had been holding since the moment Jordan had laid down.
Well,
He said,
that was a bit more intense than we thought it'd be. They brought bleeding machetes with them. Are they mad?
Jordan stood up shakily and collapsed back down into his gaming chair. I'm sweating all over, man. I thought they were actually going to hurt me for a moment when Noah started shouting like that. Martin gave a weak chuckle.
Nah, you know what he's like. He's a bully, but he ain't a maniac. But even so, mate, that's like a death threat. That's like 10 years in prison shit.
There was a brief silence.
You reckon he'll stop bullying you now?
Dunno, maybe, if we can keep him believing it. We'll just have to make out like I was rushed to hospital and recovered over the weekend. Martin whistled.
It's not an easy bluff to keep up, mate. And if he finds out?
Let's just not think about that. We only got like a few more months of school, then it's over. He goes off to do whatever the hell he's going to do, and I go off to uni. Martin rubbed his neck, which was feeling surprisingly stiff considering it was Jordan, and not him, who just pulled off a hell of a reverse prank.
Well,
He said,
I'd better get all that stuff back to Nan's room before she gets up. I'll come over now and get it.
Right, said Jordan, closing his eyes and trying to will his heart rate down. Thanks for that. You sure you can get it back without being caught?
Oh yeah, she sleeps like a friggin' brick, pal. Just hope she ain't had a coronary on the one night I borrow her stuff. On my way.
The soft click through Jordan's ears marked Martin turning off his microphone and disconnecting from the game, and he rubbed his hands over his face with another deep sigh, more of relief that it was over than of anything else. He sat in silence, the whir of his PlayStation the only sound in the room as his breathing gradually began to slow down. Behind his eyes, his hands still covering his face, little flashing specks of colour danced around the blackness. He couldn't help his mind thinking, what if I had moved? What if I hadn't been able to stay completely limp? I almost jolted in surprise when he kicked me. Would he actually have cut me? No, surely not. But still, a machete hadn't been part of the plan. They had worked this whole thing out for weeks, ever since Martin had overheard Noah and his apes plotting this year's April Fool's bullshit. His anxiety had almost ruined the whole thing. Even though he was expecting it, that first clunk from downstairs felt very, very real, as did his now swollen and bruised toe. He slowly lowered his hands from his face and sighed one long, grounding breath. Well, anyway, hopefully that would be the last time they ever tried to target him.